We're giving container plants a spring spruce up today on Pots and Trowels, and that's brought to you with the support of Cobra Garden and Darlac. Hello, welcome to Pots and Trowels. Well, I'm just having a tidy up today of some of the containers because we've got a few containers around the house with mainly evergreens in, but some deciduous shrubs as well that are pretty much permanently in those pots. So because they're not living in the ground and they can't get their roots further out into the soil, we've got to give them more in the way of food and a little bit of TLC really, just to try and keep them healthy. So what I'm doing here are some clipped bay balls. They're on a single stem that have clipped into a globe, and I'm just going to give them a bit of a spruce up. First thing I would do at this time of the year is just have a look at the pot really, and they get weeds. It's amazing how weeds grow over the winter months. So you can see in the top of this one, it's got quite a lot of weed growth. So what I like to do with all these containers, whether there's weed growth or not, is to take off a little bit of the old compost as well. And I'm using this as a brilliant little tool here. That's got a fork bit there that you can get in and get through those roots like that. So we're going to take off the weeds, chop them off, and then what I also like to do is just to loosen the top bit of compost and take that, because there's often weed seeds in there and they're going to grow. So I'm just going to scrape off not an awful lot, maybe an inch of old compost from there, just loosen it, take that off. This won't be wasted. This, along with the weeds, will go into the compost bin where it will add organic matter, and the weeds of course will rot down. And then what I'm going to do with that is give it a feed, because as I mentioned, it can't get its roots out into the surrounding ground. So basically all the roots are in this pot and they rely entirely on us for their food and their water through the growing season. So fertiliser that I'm going to use is this. And you can use all sorts. This is an organic fertiliser, blood, fish and bone, been around for donkey's years. I remember using this when I was an apprentice 40 odd years ago. It's pretty balanced in nutrients. So it's got nitrogen, it's got phosphate in there, it's got potash. And what they do is the nitrogen will make the leaves nice and green and healthy and promote top growth. The phosphates are for the roots, so it keeps a healthy root. And the potash is the sort of overall health of the plant, winter hardiness, disease resistance. Great, of course, for flowering plants. So what I would do with this is just a small handful is all I need, and I'm just going to sprinkle that round. Use a glove if you prefer, but I'm going to wash my hands afterwards. So not too much, we don't want to overdo it, and then you can just work that into the surface a little bit if you want. But what I prefer to do is to then top dress it with a little bit of fresh compost, just to bring the compost level up that little bit more, because if you keep taking it off every year, it's going to get lower and lower. And this of course will also supply a little bit of nutrition, but it encourages some newer roots to form as well at the surface. So just a couple of handfuls like that, and away we go. So what I would do with that when I finished, the compost underneath was fairly moist, but when it starts to dry out a little bit, I'd get the watering can, give that a good soak in, and that will then start to dissolve those nutrients. They'll wash down into the roots, and then in a few weeks time we'll start to see a little bit of growth. Just while we're down at this level, because I've got dodgy knees, I don't want to be getting up and down too much, we always try and lift our pots off the ground just a little bit. You can see there's a gap underneath there just for drainage. It's more in the winter probably than anything, but it allows excess water to drain out instead of sitting with this flat bottom pot on this resin pathway here. But also in the summer it means that when we're watering a lot, the water can run away and we're not going to get a dark mark. And if I just lift the pot, you can see there we're using it's a ring of plastic, recycled plastic made in the UK. It's called a pot mate, and they are really good. They're unobtrusive. You just pop them underneath your pot like that, stick your pot in them. They come in various sizes, totally invisible, but do a great job. So finally on the top here, Nothing drastic to do because we normally do the pruning of these in the summer. In fact, we did these last summer, and you can see the video that we did on pots and trowels. If you go onto our YouTube channel, just do a search for bay trees. It will show you how we shaped these when we did them last summer. And that's when I normally do it. When we get the extension growth, we can trim it back and keep that shape. But after the winter, we get leaves that are damaged, this sort of thing around here. You can see leaves get marks on them. Okay, they're only going to get worse, so we just take them off. Any leaves like this where they've got little dead bits on, and if we get any little stumpy little bits like up there, you can just go around. It's just really a tidy up. There's a leaf there, as you can see, that's looking not particularly well, so I'm going to work my way around it. Sometimes you find the old berries. I don't know if there's any old berries on this one. Yeah, some of the old berries there from last year. Okay, they're the bayberries. They're going to fall off anyway. So I just want to make sure that it looks its best. So when it starts into growth in a few weeks' time, we've already got rid of all the rubbishy bits off there like that. And that is it. So it's worth going around all your pots that you've got. Doesn't matter whether they're bay trees, it can be anything that you're growing in pots that's in there permanently. Just get rid of the weeds, bit of feed, top dress it, give them a little snip here and there, and they will look so much better as a result, and they'll grow away and look fantastic through the summer. Thank you for watching Pots and Trowels. We're going to be back in the garden again next week doing some pruning, so we'll see you then. Bye.